Conservative new media viewers and JLin fans around the world, what is up? It's me, PFE, Paul F. Villareal, the NBA expert. We're here to talk about Houston's 114-95 victory tonight over the visiting Brooklyn Nets in Houston, Texas. With the win, Houston improves to 12-5 on the season. They have now won 4 games in a row. And this was the team's first regular season game without JLin. And actually, this is the first game Jeremy's missed in almost 100 regular season games between this season and last season. He played all 82 games last year, and he played the first 16 games of this regular season as well. So that's 98 straight regular season games that he played before this game. And he did miss a couple games in the playoffs last year after he suffered the chest contusion injury. Okay, quickly, some stats. Patrick Beverley started for Houston at point guard, which of course he is doing right now. Patrick had 5 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist. He played 24 minutes, shot 2 of 7 from the field, including 1 of 5 from three-point range, 0 free throw attempts, 0 steals, 0 blocks, 0 turnovers, 1 foul. Plus minus was plus 18. His efficiency was 5. Aaron Brooks came off the bench and played another good game for Houston, as he has been doing recently. 14 points, 1 rebound, 7 assists, played 28 minutes, 5 of 8 from the field, including 3 of 5 three-pointers, 1 of 1 free throws, 3 steals, 1 block shot, 1 turnover, 3 fouls. Plus minus was -1, and Aaron's efficiency was 22, which is very good, especially for just 28 minutes played. Sean Livingston started at point guard for the Nets. He actually scored 0 points, 0 rebounds, and had 0 assists. Sean only played 12 minutes in this game, but he was held scoreless. Joe Johnson is starting shooting guard for the Nets. 5 points, 3 rebounds for him in only 16 minutes of action. Tyshawn Taylor, backup point guard for the Nets, had a very good game. 16 points, 3 rebounds, and 12 assists in 36 minutes of action with a 16 efficiency. Alan Anderson, backup shooting guard, 12 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists with a 15 efficiency. So that kind of gives you a sense of how the point guards and shooting guards did for the point guards for the Rockets and the point guards and shooting guards for the Nets. These are the people that Jeremy would be competing against on his own team and going against on the other team. Just overall for the Rockets, LeBron Bieber Parsons had 21 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists. I call him LeBron now because, again, he's tried to be a point forward and run the offense through himself a little bit more. So that reminds me of LeBron. That's why I'm calling him LeBron Bieber. James Harden, 9 points, 1 rebound, 7 assists. This was James's first game back from a couple games off because of his bruised feet. He had 7 assists and only 1 turnover, so that's very good. And Francisco Garcia actually came off the bench and had 15 points and 5 assists with only 1 turnover. Omri Caspi, 16 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. Another strong bench performance. Terrence Jones, 11 points, 7 rebounds. Dwight Howard, 12 points, 7 rebounds. So, good balanced scoring for the Rockets. Okay, what you need to know about this game is that, 1, Brooklyn isn't any good. They're just not a good team. They're a very, very disappointing team this year. They've dealt with a number of injuries. They've dealt with some issues with their head coach, Jason Kidd, before he coming into this game, the last game for the Nets against the Lakers. Kidd was fined $50,000 for an incident where supposedly or allegedly he spilled his drink on purpose at the end of the game because the Nets were out of timeouts. And so the thinking was he did it so he could draw up a play for the team, and they didn't have any more timeouts. So he literally, his drink spilled on the floor so that the people working the game had to clean it up. And during that period of time, apparently the Nets draw up a play. So he was fined for that incident, with the thinking being that he did it on purpose so they could make a play. So the Nets have been just a debacle this year. Just terribly disappointing. Issues with the coach, and just completely underachieving. It was thought before the year that the Nets would challenge to get to the finals against the Miami Heat, against the Indiana Pacers, and against the Chicago Bulls. Of course, the Chicago Bulls have lost Derrick Rose again to another knee injury. They've fallen off. Brooklyn is just, they never did anything. And so that's what Houston was facing coming into this game. And it went about as you would expect it to go. You have a team that's doing pretty well against a team that's totally underachieving, and the underachieving team's on the road, and also the underachieving team is missing Kevin Garnett and Darren Williams, who are out with injuries, I believe. And so this was a blowout. By the end of the first quarter, it was already 33-17, and that's the way the game went. It's too bad Jeremy couldn't play in this game, because this is one of those games where you really help out your offensive rating and defensive rating because it's a blowout. So Jeremy didn't get to benefit from that, although, Patrick and Aaron Brooks did. So at the end of the year, the stats will be a little bit more in favor of Aaron and Patrick because of that. So that's just the way it works out. This is the first game of Jeremy's time off, and we do expect him to be out at least 2 weeks, as we made a video about the injury for Jeremy earlier today, or earlier yesterday, actually. You can check that out if you haven't seen it. The report is that Jeremy will miss a minimum of 2 weeks with a grade 1 knee sprain, meaning that there's slight damage to a knee ligament or ligaments. And Jeremy apparently also suffered a bruised knee, a knee contusion. And that is when Paul Millsap of the Atlanta Hawks ran into Jeremy. Paul Millsap was driving to the basket, dribbling the ball, and he hit knees with Jeremy. And as I mentioned, it's a play that happens. It happens all the time. Sometimes you get hurt. Sometimes you don't get hurt. Sometimes you just suffer a knee bruise without any ligament damage. Sometimes you get a little bit of ligament damage. It can happen. It's a fluke injury. Hopefully Jeremy will be back soon and be strong. The ball moved really well tonight for Houston. Moved extremely well. 31 assists on 31 made field goals, which is very good, and only 16 turnovers. So that's almost a 2-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio for the team, which is good. It's a little bit exaggerated because Brooklyn's not any good. So their defense isn't that great. So you look better than you might look against a more competitive team. But still, the numbers were good. When you have situations where James Harden has 7 assists and 1 turnover, and Francisco Garcia has 5 assists and 1 turnover, Aaron Brooks has 7 assists and 1 turnover. That's really, really good. And that's exactly what you're looking for. For Aaron Brooks, this was like the 4th time in 5 games or so that he's played well. And just so that you know, for Jeremy fans, because Patrick's struggling some right now on offense. He's having some issues on offense. So now Aaron Brooks will become the new proxy for Lin doubters. So, and you've already seen this. You've seen it on Clutch Fans and some other places where it's, hey, Aaron's doing well, so Jeremy should get traded because now they have Aaron and Patrick and they don't need Jeremy. Or Aaron's doing well and he should start and not Jeremy. So we've talked about this phenomenon before, and it's very simple. Whoever seems like the best challenger to replace Jeremy from the anybody but Jeremy group, they will become the new quote-unquote champion. For a while before the year, it looked like Patrick. So Patrick definitely should start and Jeremy shouldn't start. Jeremy should be traded. Then we heard, well, maybe Rajon Rondo is going to get traded to the team. Okay, we need Rajon Rondo. And so, again, it's the anybody but Jeremy. So whoever looks like the best person to replace Jeremy, that person becomes the new champion. Raymond Felton's better than Jeremy. Rajon Rondo would be better than Jeremy. Patrick's better than Jeremy. We need Chris Paul, and so because he's better than Jeremy. Now that's going to be Aaron Brooks for the time being because Aaron's playing well and because Patrick isn't playing as well. So you will see this. And again, I'm not concerned about it, but you need to know that this is going to happen so that when you see it, you're not surprised by it. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, right. We've seen this before. So you will see it. It's already happening, and it will happen more. And it's just, this is the little games that are played all the time by doubters and just in general. This happens in all sports. It happens in all facets of life. This is how it works out for where Jeremy is concerned by the people that don't want him to succeed or doubt him just in general. Patrick is having some trouble on offense. And so I think this is the second consecutive game where he scored in single digits. Now, he only played 24 minutes in this game. And look, Patrick's playing well. On defense, Sean Livingston, 0 points in 16 minutes. Now, Sean Livingston only shot one time, but still, he was held scoreless in the same way that Jeremy held Jamal Tinsley scoreless or Jose Calderon scoreless. But Patrick's PER rating is going to be worse after this game. And it already wasn't really good. It already was like 11.8 or something like this, which I looked up all the starting point guards in the league, and it was like fourth or fifth worst. And a couple of those guys are hurt. One is Steve Nash. One is Derrick Rose. Both those guys are out with injuries, so they didn't really have a chance to correct their PER ratings. The other guys that were below Patrick that are starters were Raymond Felton, which of course is Jeremy's replacement in New York, which we'll talk about New York in a second, and Kirk Heinrich, who now has replaced Derrick Rose as the starting point guard in Chicago. So those were the only starting point guards in the league coming into this game that had a worse PER than Patrick did as a starting point guard. Again, two of those guys are hurt. Raymond Felton has been incredibly disappointing this year, and Kirk Heinrich is only now becoming a starting point guard. So I hope Patrick can do better and better. I think Patrick has certain limitations as a player, and when you see doubters talk about Patrick, you often hear them say things like, it's not all about offense and this type of thing. And that's meant to justify that, yes, we know that Patrick has a really low PER, but he should be starting over Jeremy. Look, we've talked about this a lot. And again, I like Patrick, and I don't want to diss Patrick or anything like that. Patrick likes Jeremy a lot, and I like Patrick. Many of you like Patrick also. Patrick was seen by many people as a kind of magical unicorn figure, as I talked about in the injury video, which is he was supposed to be like this shining star, an incredible super player, and that was never realistic, in my opinion. Now that he's starting, and you're getting to see him play more regularly against starters, you're starting to see more of his limitations. And I think a lot of people put Patrick on a pedestal because they didn't want Jeremy to be on a pedestal. So they kind of created this mystique and this aura about Patrick that might not have been realistic. And I think now we're starting to see more of the limits for Patrick. Now, that doesn't mean Patrick can't improve and won't be better than this. But he's not, he has certain limitations, the same way that Jeremy has some limitations, and every player has limitations. And so I'm not stunned by this. Now, look, Patrick scored 19 points in a game this year. He scored 17 points in another game. He scored 16 points. He can do some things. I'm not saying that he's a guy that can only score 5 points in a game. He can score more than that. But we're starting to see more of the truth, I guess, is what I'm trying to say as regards Patrick. And again, it's not about Patrick. It's about people that wanted to create a false image of what Patrick could be so that they could justify their desire to not have Jeremy start. And now we're starting to see some of the reality about the situation, I think. And that's surprising to a number of people, but it's not surprising to us. It's not surprising to me. We talked about this. We tried to tell people this. And now I think the truth is coming out in the same way that the truth is coming out about Jeremy and where his level actually is. And that surprised a lot of people, but it didn't surprise us. So that's kind of the summary of there. Now, on the other hand, Aaron is doing very well. This is, again, his fourth good game in 5 games. So, as I said, there will be a shift now to Aaron needs to be the main guy from the people that don't want Jeremy to succeed or don't want to spotlight Jeremy. Now they'll think, well, okay, Aaron can be the guy to kind of push Jeremy back since that guy doesn't appear to be Patrick. Maybe Aaron can do it. Look, Aaron's 28 years old. He'll be 29 later this year. So he's kind of pretty much in his prime, I would say, as a player. Aaron's a terrific player when his game is on. He was a fantastic player several years ago. Then he kind of fell out of favor in the league and kind of fell out of favor in Houston and just kind of lost his game a little bit. And Aaron's not a big guy. Maybe, I don't know what he is, maybe 5'10", or something like this. He's not physically large in terms of body mass. He's not a great defender. And he's not often thought of as a great assist guy. What you saw in this game, again, was 7 assists and only 1 turnover and good shooting. He is a scorer, and he is a shooter. So when he's playing well, it looks like this. It looks like 3 of 5 made 3-pointers and a whole bunch of points. His game actually, a lot of ways, can look like Jeremy's when he's on, except he's more of a consistent outside shooter. And tonight he did play good defense with the 3 steals, and he did shoot the ball well, and he did pass the ball well. And this goes back to what I've told you guys before. This is why you have 3 point guards on this team. You have 2 guys that are less established, and Patrick and Jeremy. And then you have a guy that was established and kind of fell out of it a little bit in Aaron. The team needs this if they're going to be serious contenders, because you're going to have nights where it's not going well for Jeremy and it's not going well for Patrick. Well, that's why Aaron's around. And he can do this. And so I'm happy for him. Again, I'm not threatened by him or any of this stuff, regardless of Doubter Nation wanting a new proxy against Jeremy. That doesn't matter. This helps the team. And as I've mentioned before, this will actually end up helping Jeremy again. It'll help him in competition, as we talked about with Patrick, but it'll also free Jeremy up to score more. So what this can do is that if Aaron is able to play like this, the way that he played in this game, particularly passing the ball, then you have somebody who can run the second unit. Remember, part of the reason why Jeremy wasn't playing, supposedly, as a starter was because somebody was needed to run the second unit. Well, guess what? If Aaron Brooks can do that, then Jeremy might have an easier time getting back to the starting lineup. Now, it is conceivable that Aaron Brooks becomes the starter and Jeremy's still the guy leading the second unit. That is possible, and you will hear people, Doubter Nation, saying that because they don't want Jeremy to return to the starting lineup if Patrick's not playing well. So that's possible. There's a scenario where it makes sense. And I say that because Aaron Brooks is somebody that's proven he can play in the playoffs as a starter. Not like Patrick as a backup, but as a starter. Aaron Brooks has had success in the league. I think he was most improved player one year. He can, if his game is back, he can play. He's for real. So that scenario does exist. And it's important to be aware of that. But it also exists that Aaron can be the guy who leads the second unit. What you saw in this game, and it happened because it had to happen because Jeremy wasn't around. What you did see in this game at one point was Aaron playing point guard and Patrick playing shooting guard. So if Jeremy were to go back to the starting lineup, then that's what you're going to see in the second unit. Aaron is starting point guard, Aaron is backup point guard, Patrick is backup shooting guard. So Aaron playing well could help Jeremy in that sense. And it also helps Jeremy because even if Patrick remains the starter and Jeremy remains a backup, then Jeremy can come out and play with the second unit with Aaron as point guard and Jeremy as shooting guard, which means Jeremy gets to focus more on scoring. So however this works out, it can help Jeremy out. And I'm not going to sit here and worry about, is Aaron going to become the starter? Who cares? I just want Jeremy to keep playing well. And if Aaron's playing well, it makes it easier for Jeremy. And so that's what you need to know. The team's better, which means Jeremy's playing on a better team, and Jeremy has more freedom. He can do more, and defenses can focus on him less, because if he's playing with Aaron, defenses are scared about Aaron. They're not really scared about Patrick, which means that they have to focus more on Aaron, and they focus less on Jeremy, which means Jeremy has an easier time scoring because there's not as much attention on him. When he's playing with Patrick, there's less attention on Patrick because defenses aren't as scared about Patrick. So no matter how this works out, it's going to help Jeremy, and it's going to help the team, which is also going to help Jeremy. So the only negative possible with this, with Aaron playing well, possibly for Jeremy, is that if the team wanted a scenario in which to trade Jeremy, they could say, well, we don't really need Jeremy now because we have Aaron Brooks. He's playing well and he's kind of can play Jeremy's role, so we can get rid of Jeremy. Okay, well, for some of you, that's what you want. You want Jeremy traded. So, well, maybe that helps this. Maybe that does help this. I don't want Jeremy traded to a team that's not any good, though, just because if he's playing on a good team, his reputation is better. But I'm not going to worry about it. If he gets traded, he gets traded. And Aaron playing well could help that happen. So, look, if he gets traded, he probably has more freedom and maybe goes back to being the starter. So, however this works out with Aaron playing well, I think it will help Jeremy. So, I think that's the way to look at it. Aaron was given more minutes tonight than Patrick was by McHale. McHale, again, was fair. He knew Aaron was playing better than Patrick was, and that's part of it. So fair McHale returns, but also the game was a blowout, which is to say that in a blowout, starters usually don't play that much. Your backups play more because you want to rest your starters, particularly when you have a back-to-back game, which is the situation Houston is heading into tomorrow. So Aaron did get more minutes, but some of that, or a lot of it, was just because the game was a blowout. The bench overall for Houston was great, and that's what we want to see. Garcia, Caspi, Aaron Brooks. It's good to see Garcia playing well again. He started out this year really in a slump. He was sick early in the year with flu, and it just kind of seemed to bring his whole game down. And now his game seems to be returning, and that's good to see. Terrence Jones, again, is playing well. Just energy, activity. He's just playing great. He's such a it's been such a boost to the starting lineup. Since they've gone away from Twin Towers and put in Terrence, it's just changed everything, and that continued tonight. Now, San Antonio, who is the opponent tomorrow, they played tonight also, and they pretty much blew out their opponent. So they should be fairly well rested tomorrow, just like Houston is. So that game is definitely going to be interesting to watch. Now, a couple of people left comments in the injury video that I didn't get to respond to. Sapreet Singh Ball, you said that Jeremy being hurt and everything that's happening to him is just part of God's plan and stuff. I agree with you. Jeremy should be fine. Hopefully this injury will be okay, and he'll be back on the court soon and back at full strength. And look, things are playing themselves out fine. We talk about doubters, and everything's going really, really well for Jeremy this year. He's participated in 16 games. In 13 of those games, he's played well. In 2 of those games, he didn't play as well. But in 2 of those games, he didn't have a chance to play well, I believe. In the one game, he only played 17 minutes when he scored, whatever it was, 1 point or whatever. And then in another one of those games, he only played 17 minutes. So even in the 2 games he didn't do well in, he didn't get a ton of minutes. And one of those games, I think the 1 point game, he didn't play much. And he just didn't play that well. That was the one game this entire year where he just didn't play particularly well against Dallas. That's what it was. And the other game was the game he only played 4 minutes and got hurt. So everything's going, about as well as it possibly could go. He just suffered this fluke injury, and it happens. But you couldn't write the script any better than what it's going right now. From a realistic perspective, this is about as good as it could possibly be. And that's it. All doubters, almost everybody, except for a few holdouts, know this. Even Fran Blindberry, whom I don't like in regards to his work about Jeremy, even in his last piece, he was praising Jeremy and saying that, yes, Jeremy's improved in basically almost all areas. Of course he has. So even people that's still trying to doubt Jeremy, they know he's improved. They know that. Or the Bill Ingram piece that I pointed out recently on Twitter and talking about, Patrick's emerged, which I don't know about that. And Jeremy's doing well because he's playing off the bench, which is nonsense. It's still admitting that Jeremy's playing well. There's no way around that. However you want to try to pretend it's because he's off the bench, or you still have to admit he's improving and doing well. There's simply no way around that conclusion. So this injury is the first actual roadblock. It's the first actual thing. And it's a fluke. you can get hurt like this. It just, if someone bangs into you and their knee hits your knee at full force and they're like 260 pounds, like Paul Millsap, you can get hurt. So that's it. That's all it is. There's no other way to look at the situation with Jeremy. Yes, like Fran Blindberry, you can pretend that Linsanity was a fluke and it's different now, except it's not different now because Jeremy's PER during Linsanity was 19.9 and it's 19.0 now. So you're actually seeing Linsanity 2.0 in a different form, regardless of whether Fran Blindberry wants to admit that or not. For any objective observer, it's clear that Jeremy's for real and he's playing great. And believe me, the league knows that. The league understands that. And this is part of what I was saying earlier about Aaron and Patrick. When you go against teams like Dallas, who have good coaches, they're putting defensive attention on Jeremy. They're not putting defensive attention on Patrick. But if Aaron plays well, then he's going to get defensive attention. And so if Jeremy's on the court with him, Jeremy gets less attention and Jeremy's going to score even easier. And so his numbers are going to be even better. So everything's going well. God's plan, it's all working out great for Jeremy right now. This is the first true setback, and it's just a fluke injury. And so that's it. What I've said before, I hope Jeremy comes back strong. I hope that doesn't come back and is at 60%. And so his numbers go down, and then people say, see, we told you the start was a fluke, because Jeremy's trying to play before he's fully up to speed. So he could be out longer than we'd like, maybe, depending on how his knee responds to treatment and how bad the injury is. And he could come back at a lower level, which is exactly what happened to him at the start of last year. And people thought that was the actual Jeremy Lin level when it wasn't. It was because of the knee. So I hope that doesn't happen. So long as that doesn't happen and he's not out for a long period of time, everything's going great. Guys get hurt. Most guys don't play full seasons. Most guys will miss, even healthy guys will miss 4-6 games a year. Hopefully that happens for Jeremy. He's back and that's it. That's what happened for him last year. Hopefully it can happen again this year. We will see. Commenter Lee Ramundo also asked me about Jeremy's three-pointers. Why are they been off lately? Well, they have been a little bit off lately. And the form looks a little bit off. And I'll tell you exactly what's probably happening with that. Jeremy is new as a shooter. And his form is new. So sometimes you regress in form because you just go back to your old habits. And so you got to kind of go back to the practice court and kind of work on your form a little bit more. And this is probably what it is for Jeremy. In other words, it's like you're changing a habit in your life. You're dieting now. And so, okay, for 2 weeks, you're eating great. And then you kind of relapse a little bit. And then you're not eating great. And then you have to kind of get yourself back on track. Well, that can happen as a shooter. Jeremy has new habits and he has a new technique. But now he's trying to focus on turnovers and stuff. And so his technique slips a little bit. So he's just got to kind of go back to the drawing board and get back his shooting fundamentals, get them more in order again. That's what's happening. And that's why I said, because he's new as a shooter, this is going to happen. But over time, the new form will get more and more ingrained for him. And then the shooting will stabilize further and further. But this is expected, this kind of up and down curve. He started the season blistering hot. He was ready with his new form. It was locked in. It was great. Then he maybe lost his form a little bit, and it's kind of gone down a little bit. Now he's going to have to kind of correct that a little bit. And I expect it will get better and better. But this is the expected progress curve. He's not used to being a three-point shooter or really focusing on it, and he's not used to the form. So it's going to take time for it to lock in. Hopefully it'll lock in sooner rather than later, but my expectation is it will be kind of like this for a while. Really hot, then a little cold, then he kind of gets the form right again, and it gets hot again, et cetera, et cetera. Another thing that's happening to him, or two more things with the shooting threes, is that one, defenses are more focused on him now, which means he's getting fewer open shots. They know and are scared of his shooting, which means he's getting more contested shots. That's going to make your shooting percentage come down. Number two is that he's taking more three-pointers off the dribble now. Starting the season, he wasn't shooting off the dribble three-pointers. He was shooting mostly catch-and-shoot three-pointers. And this, again, goes to defensive attention. Now that the defenses are scared of him shooting, they're sending more guys out to help him. And that means he's having to dribble and take the shot now, as opposed to either getting a wide-open catch-and-shoot shot or getting just a plain uncontested shot, even if it's off the dribble. I mean, if you've seen a number of his shots from threes have been low shot clock, step in off a dribble. Those are harder shots. So that's part of what's happening. And again, like for Patrick, this doesn't happen as much. He's getting wide open shots. Well, you're going to leave the guy wide open that you're not scared of. But the guy you are scared of, you're going to cover him and make him take tough shots. That's what's happening to Jeremy. So a little bit of form off. He's missing some shots that are there and open for him, which is normal as he's progressing as a shooter, and a whole bunch of more defensive attention. So he's having to take three-pointers off the dribble, and he's having to take more contested three-pointers. Okay, so let's talk about the Knicks. The Knicks lost tonight, and they're now 3-12. So this was the team, and they were all set without Jeremy. Raymond Felton's great. Well, here we go. Now, 3-12 basically means for every game you win, you lose 4 games. The Knicks and the Nets they're disasters. I mean, there's just no other way to put it. The Nets are 4-12. So I feel bad for New York fans because this was going to be a super year, and it's turned out to be just a dud year. The Knicks are done. They're toast. I told you earlier, Raymond Felton has maybe one of the lowest starting point guard PERs in the league. He's been just awful. And I watched a little bit of the Denver game, as I said I would in the comments of the injury video. They almost won that game. Denver almost blew it, but they're just I think they missed Jeremy Lin. Let's just put it that way. I think now it's becoming clearer that, yeah, we probably made a mistake letting Jeremy Lin go and thinking that Raymond Felton was going to replace him, which is exactly what we told you guys and told New York fans was going to happen. So, things have worked out pretty well for Jeremy so far in that exchange. Not only did he get paid $25 million, but he's with a better team now, and New York might want to have had him at this point in time. Okay, I'm not going to do any quarter by quarter, as I mentioned on Twitter, just because Jeremy's not playing. But look, the game was good. I'm really happy that Aaron Brooks is playing like this. It's good. It's good for him. He deserves it. He's gone through a lot as a player. Again, he was a rising star several years ago, like 2008, 2009 or so. And then it just kind of all fell apart for him. And I'm happy for him. And he does have this level of ability. He can do this. If sometimes guys lose their game That's the expression. It's like guys that are really good players, all of a sudden they just can't play anymore. Well, Aaron Brooks lost his game, but now it's coming back. He's capable of this. He's done this, and he's done it in the playoffs. He's done it as a starter. He can do this, and that's why they brought him back. As I've told you, if you're a serious contending team, you need proven players, and you need depth so that if you are going with a couple young guys who aren't proven, and I'm not trying to be a doubter here and say Jeremy's not proven, but Jeremy struggled last year for many reasons. The knee, new system. He was putting a lot of pressure on himself, and he did struggle early in the playoffs just because it was a new experience and speed of the game that we've talked about. Well, and Patrick had a small sample size and really hadn't shown what he could do as a starter. Well, if you think you're going to actually contend for the title, you need insurance. You can't rely on that. You need insurance at that spot. And now Houston has insurance. With the way Jeremy is playing, the way he has played this year, and now with the way Aaron is playing, and the way Patrick has shown, now you've got a very, very serious point guard force. And, of course, a couple of these guys can play shooting guard, as we saw Patrick do tonight, and, of course, as Jeremy does often. Now you've got real talent at the point guard spot to go along with James Harden. Well, you need that. You need that. So this is good. And, look, Jeremy has learned from Patrick, and Patrick's learned from Jeremy. Well, now Jeremy will learn from Aaron. Aaron's played at a high level in this league. Jeremy can learn from him. And Aaron's an excellent shooter. Great. Good. I said, again, the Phoenix Suns, Steve Nash, and Phoenix Suns 96, 97, or whatever, 97, 98, Steve Nash, Jason Kidd, Kevin Johnson, Sam Cassell. This is good. This will help Jeremy's development, and it helps the team. The questions coming into the year for this team were point guard and power forward. Well, now point guard's looking awesome. It's looking great. And again, these guys will play some at shooting guard, so you have backups for Harden. And Terrence Jones looking incredible power forward. Now, that might not be quite as great in the playoffs. He still has to get a little bit more experience. You're looking really good right now. Really good. I still expect this team's going to seriously look at moving Omer Asik. And they could look at moving Jeremy. I don't think they will move Jeremy. I don't think that's going to happen because he's too valuable. He's too valuable right now. Even with Aaron Brooks playing well, you still need guaranteed scoring and playmaking. And they could move him. I don't think they'll move him. I don't think so right now. But they could move Omer Asik. Although you need the thing that Omer gives the team is when Dwight's out, you still have a great guy to protect the basket, protect the rim. And if you can have that for a full game, for 48 minutes, you want that. Now, I know Omer wants out and all this stuff, but I think Omer's calmed down. That deal's not going to get made for Omer unless something really good comes back. Because if it's not something big coming back, they're not going to do it, in my opinion, because you don't need to do it. You simply don't need to do it. The only thing that this team needs now is maybe more depth at power forward. Maybe you need someone a little more experienced or a star-level power forward. The problem with that is if you trade Omer Asik to get it, well, then you don't have a good backup center. So you can't, you know what I'm saying here? If you give up that, then you're giving up the other. So if you're going to give up the great backup center who can play defense and rebound, you better get something big back. I've heard reports saying, Houston's literally some GM said Houston's delusional about what they want about Omer Asik. Yeah, and you want to know why that is? Because they don't want to give him up. So if they're going to give him up, you're going to pay a big price to get him. And if you don't pay a big price, they're not trading him. What Morey might be doing basically is putting out a high value on Omer so that Omer doesn't get picked up by anybody. In other words, we don't really want to trade him, perhaps, but we're going to make it look like we tried to trade him so that Omer feels good and we tried to honor his request to trade him, but we didn't really want to trade him. I said, with the way the point guard spot is playing, everything's set for this team except for maybe depth at power forward. If Terrence Jones plays like this, the team can beat anybody. They can beat anyone. It's just then becomes who backs up Terrence Jones. Well, maybe it's Moti Yunus. Maybe you slide LeBron Bieber over to power forward sometimes. You put in Omri Caspi. This team doesn't need much more than what it has. And there is a chance that Jeremy could get dealt. There is a chance. If they really feel that Aaron Brooks is good and can keep playing like this, Jeremy could become an expendable port. But again, what are you getting for him? Who are you going to get for him? Because if you give up Jeremy, you're giving up serious scoring. So you better get somebody good back. That's what I'm saying. If you're going to give up Jeremy or you're going to give up Omer, you better get something really, really good back. And right now, there's no glaring hole on this team. There isn't one. You don't want to mess with this team unless you know you're getting a major upgrade. Unless you're getting a great point guard or a great power forward. I don't think Houston's going to get that right now. I can't see that. They're not getting LaMarcus Aldridge. That's not happening. That's just definitely not going to occur. I mean, Portland's 12-3. He's not going anywhere, in my opinion. So, I mean, Rondo's out there. Maybe you get Rondo, but Boston now, they're saying they're not letting go of him. So who are you going to get? Who are you getting? I don't. If someone is traded from this team, my first guess is that it will be Omer Asik. I am really not sure that Omer is going to get traded. In fact, I think it's getting less and less that he's going to get traded. It could happen. And there's some people that think it's the situation's too far gone and he's gone. Okay, who are you getting for him? I said, they're not letting him go for nothing. He's too valuable. There's too valuable. Forget about Twin Towers. Homer and Dwight combination. You can't get a better start. You can't get a better center combination in this league on defense. And they know that. Houston knows that. And again, if you get rid of Jeremy, who are you getting? Who are you getting that's coming off the bench that's going to score 16 points a game? You know? You're not getting Isaiah Thomas. And why would you get Isaiah Thomas? I mean, he might be a little bit better than Jeremy, but he's not like ridiculously better from Sacramento. So why would you do that? Because Jeremy already has chemistry with the team and Isaiah Thomas doesn't. So you see what I'm saying here? There's no clear mega upgrade here. You're not getting Jamal Crawford. You're not getting Isaiah Thomas. So if you're not getting them, why would you trade Jeremy? Like I said, maybe Rondo, but the scenarios are getting less and less likely. And as the team keeps doing well, the team's 12-5 now, which is a very good record, maybe top 7 in the league. You're not going to trade anybody. You're just going to ride with what you have. And that's why I think we're going right now. We'll see. People, if you hear people talking about trades, they talk about December 15th. Well, why is December 15th so important? December 15th is important because it's when guys that went to new teams, it's when they can get dealt. Because there's a certain period of time, like you have to wait. I can't remember the exact thing. I don't know, 6 months or something like this, whatever it is. December 15th is when that date happens. So it's not a trading deadline. The trading deadline's not until February something. That's when many of these players can get moved that went to a new team. So that's why you keep hearing that date. It could happen. I'm not saying Omer won't get moved, or even Jeremy might get moved, but the better the team does, the less chance there is that anybody's going to get moved. And again, this team is shaping up so well right now. Terrence Jones is soaring. Jeremy is soaring. Aaron Brooks is soaring. Omer Ashik's starting to come around. He's getting his head in the game, and he still is going to rebound and play defense. He was key against Memphis, even though he didn't score a lot. He played great defense. You're not getting rid of that. Again, you're not getting rid of that unless you get something huge back. And there's very few moves or people or pieces in the league that is going to make that happen. And so I think we're getting further and further away from that scenario being realistic. Again, with Rondo. Rondo's a great player, but he can't shoot. Well, why would you trade Rondo for like Aaron Brooks or Jeremy Lin or both of them? Why? Because you're giving up two shooters for a guy that can't shoot. That just doesn't make sense, especially when your team is 12-5. You don't need Rondo if your team is already playing this well. And that's what I said. I don't want to keep going over the point, but things are looking good. Things are looking good for the team. I think things are looking good that there's not going to be a trade, in my opinion, involving Jeremy and maybe involving anybody, just because of how everybody's starting to play and how the team is playing as a whole. Okay, that is it. It is currently 7:45 a.m. here on Saturday, November 30th. I fell asleep before I had a chance to make the game video about the game. Sorry about that. So it is 8:45 p.m. on Saturday, November 30th in Taipei, Taiwan. Thumbs up, thumbs down, your comments below. Come and join us on the Conservative New Media Facebook group. Come and join us and follow us on the CNM JLin Vids Twitter account. You'll find information for both of those things in the video description below the video player. You'll also find information about this game in the video description, including video highlights, game story, and a box score of the game. Once again, I am Paula Villarreal, PFE, the NBA expert. Thanks a lot for watching Conservative New Media. We strive to be the #1 Jeremy Lin YouTube fan channel. Another great game. Look, tomorrow the team is taking on San Antonio Spurs in San Antonio. The Spurs are, what are they? They're 14-2, I think, or 15-2. The Spurs, this is going to be a real test. I'm sure the Spurs are favored in this game. In fact, I saw that they were favored, I believe. The game will take place at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time tonight, Saturday, November 30th, here in the United States, which means the game will take place on Sunday, December 1st at 9:30 a.m. in Taipei, Taiwan. This is going to be a measuring stick game. This will tell us a lot about where the team is. Look, if Houston plays their game, they can win this game. There's no question in my mind. Houston has the talent level. They can beat anybody if they're playing at their best. San Antonio's a great team. They have a great coach. They're deep, and they have an incredible system. They play great defense. Everybody can score on their team. They're unselfish with the ball. When you play the Spurs, you have to be on your game. If you're not, they will blow you out. They will crush you. And they're deep, and they'll just run you off the court. The Spurs, if you watched the finals last year, and I'm sure many of you watched the finals, the Spurs were actually the equal of the Miami Heat, which is truly saying something. The Heat are an incredible team, and the Spurs were at their same level. That just shows you. Now, the Spurs are a little bit older now. They're a little bit of an older team with Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili. Tony Parker's been in the league a long time, although he's not really that old. He's like 31 or 32. So they are a little bit older, but they're so good. They're just, their system is incredible. They're the same team. They're actually better now, maybe, in some ways than they were last year. So you have to be at your best to play them. And right now, if I had to make a prediction on who's going to the finals this year, I would say it would be a rematch of last year. Meaning, I think it looks like Miami and San Antonio are going back to the finals, although Indiana might throw a wrench in that plan. And it's possible Oklahoma City could, and it's possible Houston could if everything fell right. But it's going to be a great game to see where the team is at. Hopefully they'll play well. It's unfortunate Jeremy doesn't get to play. We know that Jeremy likes playing against San Antonio, as he put up 38 points against them last year. So it's there. Now, I don't think I saw Jeremy on the sidelines of this game, although I was watching the Brooklyn feed, so they wouldn't focus on Jeremy. If he were on the sidelines, they wouldn't be showing him on camera. So I don't know if he was there. It's just I didn't see him. Maybe he was, if he wasn't there, just so he can rest his knee a little bit more, or take the pressure off the knee, whatever. So I don't know. If you guys, if he was there and you saw him, you can tell me about that in the comments. So, okay, that's it. Hopefully you're having a great night, a great day, wherever you are around the world when you watch this video. Take care, and we will talk to you again soon.